Yo, what's going on, guys? This is the kid Zima Blue, aka Birkenstocks. Back at it again with another video. Special guest today. I'm back in LA with longtime friend, good friend of mine by the name of Sam Ricci.
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you doing, Zima?
I'm doing pretty good, man. So for the people who don't know who you are and know what you do, just explain a little bit about yourself.
I'm a producer and recording engineer based in LA. I've been out here for about 6 years. I'm from Takoma Park, Maryland. I work on a lot of pop music, indie pop music, hip hop music. Yeah, that's what I do.
That's what's up. For those of you all who don't know, me and Sam know each other from Omega Studios, School of Recording Arts and Sciences. Went there for a year and, hit it off.
Yeah, man. I mean, Zima was the best in his class and just killing it every day.
Yeah, we were in the same class.
Every microphone, and he was just a prodigy.
You were the prodigy. You were the prodigy. This dude makes straight A's.
I mean, you did well too.
I did good.
Everyone liked you though. You were you were the kid everyone liked.
I'll give you that.
Not that people didn't like me, but
oh man. Let's just talk about your background and how you got started in music and production, like your childhood. Let's start there.
Yeah, so I started playing guitar when I was about 15. I was trying to impress a girl.
What's her name?
Her name's Vanessa.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about not telling the name, but it's who cares?
It was 20 years ago.
Who gives a shit? Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Okay. Are you gonna bleep it out?
No.
Okay.
I mean, whatever you want me to do.
Oh, I don't want you to bleep it out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was trying to impress Vanessa because one of my best friends at the time, every time we would all be hanging out, our group of friends, he would pull out the guitar and start playing Led Zeppelin songs and Beatles songs and Jimi Hendrix songs, and Vanessa was just floored. She was just so enamored with his playing, and he wasn't like that great of a player or anything, but I was super into Vanessa, and it made me jealous. So I had to find my way into music somehow, and yeah, that was the spark that started it all. Yeah, after a couple years of playing guitar, I started making beats in GarageBand. I was trying to make custom soundtracks for my skate videos.
Oh.
Skating was my first real passion, probably. And I just thought it would be cool to make my own music for it. And I would just throw GarageBand loops, random, guitar loop with a random piano loop, not knowing anything about song keys or chord progressions or time signatures or tempo, and just try to make something work. Yeah. So that escalated, and, I was just doing that all the time in high school and in college, and just sort of teaching myself how to do it. I studied English literature in college, as well as Italian.
Oh, that's right. You do. You speak a little. You still speak?
Sì, parlo un po' italiano, ma non pratico molto perché non so niente che, non conosco che parli italiano.
Yo, this dude speaks Italian. I forgot about that. Yo.
I mean, that was 80% correct, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I messed up towards the end. I got nervous.
That's still impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's like a little party chick.
My grandfather was Italian, and that's what inspired it. But after, as I was studying, the thing I really wanted to do is music, but I just didn't really see the point in getting a degree in music, because it seemed like, maybe I should get my degree in something that I could fall back on if music didn't work out. Looking back at it, though, I really wish I studied music, because I think music theory, music history and being an expert on an instrument are super important and would be very valuable for my current career. Modernist, 20th century English literature isn't that important to what I'm doing right now. But it did teach me to think critically.
Okay.
You know, I mean, a lot of majors will teach you to be a critical thinker.
Okay.
But I did feel like I was just better at like explaining myself and coming up with good ideas.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. But I was doing, you know, like beat making and songwriting in all my free time in college. And then after college, I decided, you know, I heard a little bit about a school, Omega Recording Studios. I had a friend, Tommy. You remember Tommy? He plays all the instruments and stuff.
He's got a whole studio does he have a studio in his basement or something like that?
Yeah, he used to. I don't know if he still does, but he went to Omega and he really inspired me. Like, I just wanted to do what he was doing. It seemed cool. So I went to Omega and for a tour and just like fell in love with it and fell in love with the idea of doing that stuff. Yeah. And that's how I got started.
So after killing it at Omega Studios, you moved to LA immediately, or did you have any in between jobs, or
after graduating Omega, the whole time I was working as a server at Mark's Kitchen in Takoma Park, which is it's like a hipster diner kind of vibe. And then after I graduated Omega, I applied for the internship there. I got that, and I was doing that simultaneously with the waiting job for a little bit, and then they decided to hire me.
Okay.
Helping out with like administrative stuff and like signing people up for the courses. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, like once in a while I would like help with like some sort of teaching thing going on. Like if no one could proctor an exam, like I would.
So you taught a little bit?
Huh?
You taught a little bit?
I mean, not really.
Like a little class or
I would
two?
just like pass out the exam and.
Okay. Here, I do this shit.
Yeah. I don't think I really taught at all. I mean, kids would ask me questions and stuff because I worked there, but no, I never taught a class.
So after working the restaurant job and interning, how did you end up in LA?
So I was really inspired by one of the teachers there, Pete Novak.
Yeah, my guy.
And he told me, you know, he would tell the class all these stories about working out here, working with Outkast and Gwen Stefani, Jason Mraz, you know, Will Smith, you name it. And, you know, I thought about it. I was, you know, I definitely wanted to like work with like big name artists. That just seemed awesome. But I didn't know if like New York was the right place because it's closer, like LA, Miami, whatever. And, but really from hearing Pete's stories and like talking to him a little bit, it seemed like the industry is really like centered in LA for the most part nowadays. Okay. Like at least like pop and hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I mean, there's other.
Nah, you hit it right on the nose. LA is pretty much the place that everybody eventually comes to.
Yeah.
So, I
mean, you know, there's other amazing, you know, Atlanta would be a great city if I was super like into hip hop, I think, you know. But yeah, LA just seemed like the best option. And I flew out here for 10 days and I just like handed out a resume at every studio. Like I made this like little Google Maps like custom map thing of all the recording studios in LA.
Damn.
There's like 35 of them, something like that.
Okay.
35 that like looked like decent, at least, you know, more than like someone's shed.
Real studios.
Yeah. Okay. And I went, so I flew out here on the first day that I was legally able to rent a car.
Why were you not legal at first?
Just because you're not allowed to until you're 25.
Okay.
Like I think that's nationwide. Like you can't rent a car until you're 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. So literally the day on my birthday, I flew out here to rent a car and like drive around LA for 10 days and check out what's happening. And I dropped a resume off everywhere, tried to like talk to people a little bit. And I had a little bit of luck. Like some places definitely sort of like shooed me off
Yeah.
or just seemed like, get out of here
Yeah.
type of energy.
We don't need you.
Yeah. But I did get a few callbacks, and from that trip, 2 places offered me unpaid internships.
Okay.
And I don't think any place offered me a paid thing. But I got an unpaid internship at Glenwood Place Recording Studios in Burbank.
Okay.
Which is like a hip hop studio. At the time, Bruno Mars had a room there. You on any given day, you might see Lil Wayne, Kid Cudi, Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second internship I got was at Fairfax Recordings, which is it was Sound City Studios, which is like a famous rock studio. And it was Fairfax Recordings for a few years, and now it's back to being Sound City Studios.
Tyrone motherfucking Johnson. You go out to LA and disappear off the face of the earth, sir.
Yeah, so I, took the 2 unpaid internships. And on that 10-day trip, I actually started one of the internships. And on day 1, like, I show up and I'm like, just got in the lobby, and the first thing they asked me to do is to go in the courtyard and make a fire in the fireplace for Bruno Mars. And Bruno Mars is just, like, I'm from Maryland. Like, I haven't seen like a ton of celebrities, and he's just like chilling in the rocking chair with some girl next to him, just, chatting her up, flirting with her. And I'm just there like clumsily, like, like putting fire into the fireplace and,
Damn.
like trying to light it and like stuffing it with newspaper and like lighting the newspaper on fire, and it wouldn't catch. And I'm like,
have you ever lit a fire before that?
yeah. I mean, I lived in a house. Remember?
yeah.
Ellie's house that had a wood stove that I lit sometimes, but still, like,
yeah.
I didn't know this fire pit yet, so I had to get to know it a little bit.
I feel you. He's like, fuck. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, celebrities made you pretty nervous?
Some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, like people who I admire, people whose music I actually listen to, like at first, but it got to a point where I would see someone, almost every day, like, like so-and-so who I've heard their name all my life, and now like I'm getting their coffee or whatever. And yeah, the effect wore off, like,
yeah, pretty fast.
Yeah, pretty fast. There's still like a couple people, like, after I saw Justin Bieber, like the first time, is like whoa. But yeah, I think I would be nervous if I saw like Frank Ocean.
Yeah.
James Blake. I'm really into James Blake. Those are 2 guys I really admire. SZA, even though I worked with her one time and she was so humble and stuff. Yeah, there's a few of them, but I don't know.
So when did you transition from server to, I guess, recording engineer, and how did you go about doing that? When did they start letting you in on sessions?
Oh, so as an intern, like, all you're really doing is getting coffee for people. You're doing runs for people, like going out to 7-Eleven and getting their, backwoods,
Yeah.
the Swishers, getting the Fanta. You're getting their like chicken salad dinner. You're getting paper towels for the studio. Like it's bullshit like that. You're not touching any mics. You're not touching the console. The only time you're allowed in the room is to clean it.
Damn.
After everyone's gone.
Shit. So how do you get the studio to, like, I guess, see you as something other than a runner? It's
just a matter of being around the staff long enough and like getting to know the manager and getting to know the assistant engineers who are there.
Okay.
Because the next step after intern or runner is assistant engineer.
Okay.
So if you do all that intern stuff well, like even though it, it has nothing to do with engineering,
Yeah.
all it shows really is that you're on top of your shit. You're not lazy. You're not like, you can do tasks well.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And as soon as you've been around long enough, people, the assistant engineers trust you and say good things about you to the manager. The manager has enough experiences with you, performing well at your job that they just sort of trust you, So, but at these 2 internships, I never made it to that level because after 5 months, I finally got a call back from Record Plant, which was one of the places I dropped off a resume a long time ago. But they reached out to me to interview for a runner job, and the guy who I dropped off my resume at, he remembered me because I had like a little packet for my resume and like a little graphic design on the cover, which is like really dorky thinking about it now.
Nah, you made you stand out from a lot of people. I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the point of it. Just so people see that, they remember it, yeah. So I got called in to interview for a runner job, and I got the job at Record Plant. So I quit those 2 internships. Never got, paid a cent for working at those 2 places, but still it was great because I understood how a studio runs, I didn't understand how to record someone. It didn't teach me that.
But you already knew that.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
A little bit. It's different recording someone at home or your homie.
Yeah.
And or in a school environment where you're allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah, but these are professionals.
Yeah, being in the hot seat at one of these recording studios and, having, who knows, Young Thug, Lil Wayne or Justin Bieber walk in, you can't be futzing about the console. What does this button do again? So yeah, I didn't learn a lot about recording and engineering as an intern.
Gotcha.
But I learned what it's like to be at one of those studios, what, how sessions usually run, what the hours are like, and just the general atmosphere, and what you as an intern, I talked to the assistant engineers all the time and asked them what they were doing and how they like to set up mics and what gear they like to use, and certain questions about Pro Tools or whatever, because I was lucky to work with some really good assistant engineers, some of whom are still friends today and are doing big things in the industry. And yeah, so I definitely learned a lot from them. And at Record Plant, I was, as a runner is just a paid intern, basically.
Okay. So you were getting paid at the
Yeah.
Record Plant?
Yeah,
as a runner.
minimum
Cool.
wage, which was $9.50 an hour.
Better than what you had before, though, which is...
I made more money as a server.
Damn.
Yeah,
Shit.
dude. On busy night, you can make $50 an hour as a server at where I worked.
Jeez. Just in tips?
Yeah,
Okay, that's not bad. On top of the...
which was incredible to me. I never made that much money before. So going back to $9.50 an hour in a city as expensive as LA
Yeah.
was really tough. But I did work a lot, and I worked a lot of overtime hours, and there were periods where the studio wouldn't be that busy, and it was a little difficult. But I made it work somehow. And after 8 or 9 months of just being a runner, just getting people their Fanta and coffee and stuff, I was thrown into assistant engineer one session, which was a writing session for Usher.
And Usher was there.
Usher didn't come though.
Damn. What was
So-
what was your first big session as a assistant engineer? Who was that with?
I think the second one I did was with Carnage. You know that guy?
Does he do?
He's like a DJ producer guy. He's not like the biggest name in the world.
Okay, how did that go?
He just made beats in FL, and the artist that he was going to work with that night never showed up.
Okay.
Who I think was Jeremiah. Jeremiah was supposed to come and he never came.
Okay.
But the biggest at Record Plant. Oh, Playboi Carti.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was the first like sort of big rapper who I assistant engineered for at the time.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2016,
Okay.
probably in the middle of 2016.
That was when he first
He was just sort of popping off, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Man, I mean, I just worked with him like 2 nights that time at Record Plant. Later on, I went to assistant engineer for him again at Winmark, and that story is a little more interesting. But at Record Plant, it was fine. Like he had a bunch of people there, and people just smoking and drinking, and I think he cut like 3 songs. As an assistant engineer, back in the day, like, when there's live bands and stuff, assistant engineers were much more valuable because they would be setting up the mics on all the instruments and, getting all the effects equipment routed for every microphone and getting it through the console to Pro Tools or the tape machine. And I mean, it's the same thing today. Whoa. And it's the same thing today, but there's just like less equipment to deal with. Like people aren't bringing in like drum kits and, guitars and, pianos as much to sessions. So the assistant engineer will set up the microphone for, a rapper, pop singer or whatever. Probably get it going through a nice outboard preamp into a nice outboard compressor, then into Pro Tools. And you set up the aux in case anyone wants to use the aux. If anyone brings an instrument like a keyboard or guitar, you help them set it up and, going through the board to Pro Tools or whatever outboard effects you want to use. But I would say 90% of the sessions were just vocal tracking sessions.
Okay. So you're hitting record.
Sorry?
So you're just hitting record?
As an assistant engineer, you're not, there's no recording. There's no command space bar. There's no editing. There's nothing. It's just setting up the microphone and in troubleshooting any problems that arise during the session, or, say another producer comes, set up a second aux for them. But also as an assistant engineer, sometimes you need to do some lame stuff like take people's food orders and, like clean up the room a little bit.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Were there any, so while being an assistant engineer, were you always plotting your way around trying to, I guess, work with these artists that you're in contact with the entire time? Like, how did you develop a relationship with these, these superstars?
As an assistant engineer, I mean, generally there's not like a ton of mingling with the artist. You don't really feel like part of the gang, so to speak. Like you sort of feel like an outsider and just the guy there, just, doing the dirty work. But, certainly in some instances you get chances to talk to people and, I'm not I'm not the most outgoing person and I'm not the most trying to get your number and like, can I send you beats? And,
Okay.
you know, that's just not really my style. Like I just picture myself as one of these artists, and that behavior would just seem sort of irritating to me, you know? So, yeah, I mean, you get to know people a little bit if you work with them a lot. Like, I worked with Bruno Mars's producer, Brody Brown, for a while. And, you know, you get close to people if you're around them like every day for days and days and days. Let me think. Oh, when I was at Windmark, the Black Panther album was made there, and most of it at least. And you know, like you're around the studio all day with SZA and Kendrick and Schoolboy Q and Zakari, Reason, all the people on Top Dog Entertainment. You know, the engineers too, Matt Schaefer, Rory. I don't know Rory's last name, but Isaiah Rashad, the rapper. So, you know, like over the course of months, like, you know, it's inevitable, like you strike up a conversation with people sometimes. And yeah, like my plan was never to like, you know, like somehow like sneak into their circle.
Finesse your way in there.
Yeah, like I'm not a finesser, really. You know, I'm just not.
It seems like you didn't even have to finesse though. Like from what you said, the sauce was just moving to LA and getting a job at a recording studio.
The sauce? I'll tell you the secret.
Okay,
Here's the secret.
here's the sauce.
It's just working hard at whatever your role is, dude. Working hard at whatever your role is at the time. If you're an intern, fucking cleaning the shit out of the floor, like scrubbing that motherfucker and it's shiny. If you're got to go get Fantas, get the Fantas quick. Okay. You know,
get the Fantas quick, yo.
Don't like sit on the phone in the parking lot with your girl. Don't like make a side trip to Taco Bell for yourself. You know, like that's just the trick. You know, and people will recognize that hard work. Okay. And yeah, so. I mean, so I guess to go back to your original thing, like how did I like, you know, like move up from assistant engineer? So during the Black Panther sessions, the engineer couldn't make it one day, and SZA wanted to re-record her vocals for the song All the Stars, which she had recorded a few days ago or a month ago or something. And I was just the only guy available. Or yeah, like there's a couple other people at the studio at the time, but they were working already, and they needed an engineer like ASAP. So I had engineered for Reason a couple times. Reason, he was on Top Dog TD, and the manager of Windmark was just like, you know, SZA just wants to recut something. Should only take a couple hours. Like, could you do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. And yeah, she got there and she was just so humble, so nice. She was like so apologetic that it was like a last minute session, and I was just like,
girl,
you know,
it's okay.
I was just thinking like I don't want to be anywhere else but here. This is awesome. Like this is the biggest thing that I've done, and we haven't even started yet. So yeah, like we recut her vocals for that song. She changed some things in her verse. She wrote it a little differently. And it was like a 5-6 hour session. And from that, that song went on to be a pretty big song. And it's one of those songs that like a lot of people know about. Yeah. And, you know, it was like featured prominently in the movie Black Panther. I mean, it's the song during the credits. Yeah. Like as soon as it goes to the credits, it's that song. So just from like having worked on a big song, that gave me a lot of momentum. Even though that one session was not like, it wasn't that hard, and it wasn't like, you know, I grinded for hours to like get that song to engineer that song, or grinded for like months or something to like work on that song and whatever. But just because, LA is it can be a pretty shallow place, and like just people just having a credit on a big song, people just look at you differently, people just assume like I'm a beast,
Bro, you are a beast. Like, you're one of the best recording engineers I know.
Maybe, but not at the time. I was bad, dude. Like, I remember on that session, I didn't know that like the shortcuts for the most basic things, like creating a new playlist in Pro Tools, control backslash, and or what's that?
Did that like set you back or something?
Yeah, because she did like 70 takes of like one thing, I think, like the ending of her verse. Like, she tried it so many different ways, and just every time it just, maybe it wasn't an eternity, but it felt like an eternity, just me going over and like clicking on the thing and new playlist. And she was in the moment, like trying to figure out this thing, and it was sort of perplexing her a little bit. And I was just like, I felt like I was taking forever to like just keep on like clicking this thing over and over like 70 times, instead of just going boop.
That's crazy, because like your first recording sessions in a recording studio were with big dogs, basically. Where somebody like me, like I started off with local talent, local rappers,
Well, I did stuff like that too, I guess, but just, like at home.
Yeah, at home. But like at our actual recording studio, like when I got my first gig as in a recording studio, it was just with a lot of local talent. I felt pressure, but I don't think it could compare to the pressure that you felt, with somebody like a SZA or Kendrick or,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think by that time, like, I'd been around, like, just every day as an intern, runner, or assistant engineer for so long that like it does that. There's definitely pressure there. But I don't know. I'm just a nervous guy in general, especially back then because I was so like fresh.
Got you. So I guess after that recording session, didn't that song get a Grammy or nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah, so it was nominated for Record of the Year at the Grammys. And I went to the Grammys for that, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
So moving on up in life as a recording engineer, what am I trying to get at? I guess what next? You just worked on bigger songs after that?
So a little after All the Stars came out, I quit Winmark because a lot of people I know who have worked as assistant engineers at Winmark or Record Plant or any of those studios, they take so long. It can take years to get a break like I got on All the Stars. And it took me, I guess, 3 years of being an intern and assistant engineer before I got like a big credit.
Okay.
So, I moved out here to be a producer. Writing and arranging songs is my favorite thing to do. And a little after All the Stars came out, I got some opportunities to produce for some up and coming artists who, seemed promising at the time. And I was getting paid in engineering rate that was to work with this one guy as well. And the engineering rate was way better than the minimum wage I was making as an assistant engineer.
I bet it was.
So even though he wasn't like a superstar or whatever, it was like, okay, like I can keep on hustling as an assistant engineer and like get one big break every 3 years, maybe, or, like maybe it wouldn't be that long, but, for the most part, like every night you're not working with SZA, like, like my next break might be with like Jay Critch or like, someone who's not, isn't going to do wonders for my career necessarily. But I was so I got some opportunities to produce as well as engineer, and I was getting paid a decent engineering rate, and I was helping write and produce the songs. And write, as I mean writing the music, not writing the lyrics.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that you're doing currently and some of the people that you've been working with as of recently. I hear that you did some work with Ariana Grande on her latest project. What was the song that you worked on?
The song I worked on is Nasty.
Okay. I want to get nasty.
Yeah.
I like that song.
Yeah.
What you waiting for?
We were jamming to it in the car earlier.
Good times.
Last year, I was fortunate enough to do some sessions at Tommy Brown's house. And Tommy Brown is one of Ariana Grande's go-to producers and the go-to producer for her last project, Positions, that came out last fall. Okay. And working at Tommy's house, there could be any number of artists that could come through for a session. It could be Caliucci's, Charlie Puth, any number of people. But the only like big artist that I worked with at his house was Ariana Grande, and I recorded her briefly one night, like just in like a little writing session. And then they liked me enough, I guess, that when her main engineer, Billy Hickey, couldn't show up one day, that Billy, suggested me to substitute for him. And Billy was someone I met at Record Plant. He was one of the assistant engineers who like taught me a lot of stuff, and I guess I left a good impression with him, and enough so for him to, call me to engineer, for him sometimes if he couldn't make the gig. Okay. I showed up one day to Tommy's house, and Victoria Monet was there. Do you know Victoria? She's a great R&B artist. Sort of like, I want to compare it to like a female version of Khalid, kind of. Okay. And she writes a lot of Ariana's music with Ariana. Ariana is a great writer, but she's very collaborative, and she had Victoria there, and Tommy was there producing, of course, and a couple other producers were there by the name of the Rascals. Yeah. And the Rascals pulled up this beat, and it's pretty much what you hear on the final record, except Tommy added some stuff to it. It was a pretty like smooth experience. Like Ariana loved the beat, and her and Victoria just started writing on it right away, and they did some melody passes, and the melody passes turned into like us like sort of cutting and pasting the best parts and forming it into a song. And then I just sort of looped certain sections for them as they came up with lyrics on the couch. Nice. And then, like Tommy would airdrop some ideas over, and I would put them into the Pro Tools session, just like, some synth ideas or vocal chops, I think. And by the end of the day, the song was almost done, I think. And I think she added some more vocals, like, at a different time, but most of the song was done that day.
Heck yeah. How would you describe your recording style or your production style as an artist? Like, what kind of music do you make?
As a producer, a little all over the place.
Pretty versatile.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Maybe the last year or two, I've been more into sort of like alternative pop, alternative R&B. Probably my favorite album of the last 10 years is Blonde by Frank Ocean.
So Frank Ocean is a huge inspiration for you? That's like your guy.
Yeah. He's probably he's probably my favorite artist of the last 10 years, I would say.
What is it that you like about him?
He's just able to do so much, and Uh, the 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 things that he does with words is amazing. His vocal performances are amazing. The arrangements in his songs are just usually so unique, and they blend so many different elements, and at times it can be really emotional, at times it could be pretty lit, and that's that's not super common, I think. Like usually artists find like a certain lane and stick to it, but he seems to be able to just like cover so much ground, and just be so like poetic and swaggy, and at the same time, which is not super common. And I resonate with his choices, his creative choices, whether they're lyrics or arrangement. There's other artists who I admire immensely, but who just like maybe their lyric, they're talking about stuff that doesn't really resonate with me. Or the production choices aren't my favorite. But with Frank, it's just like, dang, those hats are crazy. Like, what was that rhyme? Who are you talking about? Like it's also mesmerizing and interesting to me. Okay. So, and I'm not trying to like copy his production style or his choices, but that sort of gives you a sense maybe of like some stuff at least that I really admire. And, maybe someday I could work on something, a quarter of it of as good as I think Blonde is.
Let's get into your day to day. What's it looking like for you from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep? Do you have like a spreadsheet of the things you're gonna do? You got a calendar? Like,
I'm not that. I mean, I wish I was that organized.
Are you busy?
Man.
How busy are you?
I tried making a spreadsheet. I usually make Actually, I haven't been doing this the last lately, but sometimes I make to-do lists. It depends on the day, totally. But
what am I trying to say? You are recording and engineering and producing there. That's what you do every day. Like you're full time. You're a full-time musician, basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it varies all the time, but the last month or so I was recording and doing a little bit of production for Lauren Waregi, who is one of the girls in Fifth Harmony. And so for like 3 to 5 days a week, I would go to the studio called Sound Factory, about a mile away in Hollywood, and we were working on finishing her album, recording background vocals, recording a string quartet, comping trumpets that someone sent, all this random stuff to finish her. It's a 6-song EP. Okay. And earlier this week, I worked with this artist, Peter Manos, who's probably the artist I've worked with the most over the last year or two as a producer. He's an amazing singer-songwriter and producer as well. His style is more like alternative pop, if I had to classify it as something. And me and Peter click so well, I think, for a number of reasons, but maybe foremost that we have a lot of the same musical, we're inspired by a lot of the same musical things. Like one of his favorite albums is definitely Blonde as well. Okay. So, yeah. And earlier this week I was working with a new artist. Her name's Kevich. She has one song out right now called Sunrise. It's sort of, I would describe it as lo-fi pop. Yeah, so some days I'm going to the, a studio like Sound Factory or record plant to do some recording. Some days I'm going to someone's home studio to work on production and writing. Yeah, it's a little all over. Some days I'm having people over to my place and work in writing and recording as well.
So it's kind of like wherever the wind takes you.
Yeah.
None of this stuff it seems like you just maybe it's word of mouth, like other engineers or other artists you work with telling their friends about you type deal?
Yeah. The way I've gotten the most work as an engineer is definitely word of mouth.
Okay.
Filling in for friends.
Yeah, that's what
that's been like the biggest thing.
Your guy didn't show up. Hey, Sam can do it.
Yeah.
Back to the regular schedule program. So you have a manager. How important do you think it is to have how important do you think it is to have a manager as a independent? You're not signed by anything or anyone, are you?
No.
Okay.
It's definitely a goal of mine to have a publishing deal someday. If it's, I just, I want it to be
makes sense.
the right deal.
Yeah.
I'll say for me, it's helped out a lot the last couple years, but maybe the main reason it's turned out to be such a good relationship is that it happened very organically. Like I was doing work for like 3 of his clients at the time, 3 artists that he was working with. And Tyler liked the work that I was doing, and he would hear my productions, and he would naturally want to, some new artist comes across his desk who needs a producer, and my name would come to mind, so he would throw me in with them. And it wasn't for a long time of that sort of casual thing happening here and there that he became my manager. So I would be really hesitant to go seek a manager out that you don't already sort of know, because the personal relationship is, having at least some sort of relationship before jumping into something like that is so important, because, this person, the manager has to know what your work is like, and what your tastes are, to be able to link you up with the right people. And I lucked out with Tyler because, he's really respected in the industry, and he manages some really successful artists like Party Next Door, the producer Wonder Girl. He manages this writer and producer Harv, who works with Justin Bieber. So I sort of lucked out in that, he's a well-connected guy, and he's able to put me in the room with people who I connect with creatively.
So how does it work having a manager? Do you pay him on a monthly basis, or
we work out a percentage of my income.
Okay. So anybody he hooks you up with, basically?
Yeah. He gets a percentage of my income for production and writing work. For engineering work, we agreed that he wouldn't take a percentage.
Okay. That's what's up. So, do you have any free time?
Oh yeah, I have tons of free time.
Okay. What are you doing
it depends. In February, not really. Any day off, it was laundry, groceries, getting a hike in or something, just resetting a little bit. But yeah, in December and January, I wasn't doing shit.
Yeah, what are you doing for yourself when you're not working? Because I know engineering can be, and producing, it can be overwhelming sometimes. What are you doing, to take your mind off of those things, and, to take care of yourself, to take the load off?
One of my favorite things to do to center myself, honestly, it's connected to music, so it doesn't seem like the best answer, but is practicing my instruments that I play.
Really?
Yeah. Exercises on guitar, bass, or piano, learning a new piece on the piano, or going on YouTube and finding some exercise for bass or something. It's just it can be a pretty meditative exercise to when you're working on something new that's like on an instrument that is foreign to you, it's like to be able to conquer it, you just really need to focus, and it takes your mind off everything else in your life, sort of.
Damn.
So
it was fun to you?
it's yeah, dude, that's fun. I mean, that's not the sexiest answer, I know.
Damn, I thought you were out here skating the streets of LA on a longboard or something.
I mean, I skate sometimes.
You skate sometimes? Okay.
Yeah, I was skating a lot when COVID started happening. I picked up my board and started skating again. Okay. And then one day I was at a skate park and I just fell on my ass so hard.
That's how it always is with skating.
Dude, it like I haven't fallen that hard like in a long time, and like I couldn't walk for like a couple of days. I was just in bed like binging Netflix, just like couldn't even like turn like this, and I was just like, this is why I stopped skating.
I don't even see a skateboard in here anymore. Like, did you throw that away?
It's in the closet.
Okay.
It's in the closet.
I heard you play tennis too.
Oh yeah, I've been playing tennis with my girlfriend. We play at a place nearby and try to do it like a couple times a week. Okay. Yeah.
You're a pretty balanced man, tennis, girlfriend, music.
Yeah.
Practice.
I like to think so.
Okay.
Yeah, taking hikes is something I like a lot. That's a nice way, and like listening to like podcasts and music on a like a 2-hour long hike or something with my dog Jack. That's a great way to reset.
Oh, you got a dog. Put Jack in the camera. Show him Jack.
Oh, I was waiting for this moment. Jack, come here. It's your time to shine, bro. Come here. This is my son. His name's Jack. He's like 3 or 4 years old. Yeah. And he likes long walks on the beach. And
we went hiking today.
Watching Netflix and...
Nightflix?
Watching Netflix. Netflix at night. And cuddling in the bed and stuff like that.
So, what are your plans for the near future, man? What do you got ahead of you? What are you working on, or what do you see yourself doing? What do you want to be doing?
In the next few years, I definitely want to transition to being almost solely a producer. Not taking any engineering gigs where I'm not also producing. That would be incredible. Yeah, I just want to keep getting it better at my craft and practicing my instruments. I want to keep learning and getting better at writing music, and yeah, like I'm really excited for some stuff I'm working on now, especially the stuff I'm working on with Peter Manos. And yeah, I just want to find some more new artists to work with who share my vision, or not share my vision, because I don't know if I have one vision, but like I can get into, a lot of different things, but just, sometimes you meet people and it's like, or you meet a new artist to work with and you come up with something dope, like, dang, these drums are knocking. And they're just like, I don't like that, So I just want to find some people.
Yeah, you want to lock in with somebody. Like you want to find some guy that you can like build with and come up with. Like you're a number one person. I don't think you have that yet. Like yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like it would be awesome. I mean, it would be awesome to work with like huge artists as a producer. Get in the room with James Blake or Frank Ocean or SZA. Yeah. But I almost think it would be more rewarding to
break a brand new
build
artist.
Something like, meet someone who's just starting, but you guys, share the same artistic goals, and you like the same sort of shit, and you work really hard and like build a unique thing together, and then that pops off. Like that seems way more rewarding to me, Yeah. Than like sending like a loop to SZA and then someone puts drums to it,
Yeah.
That sounds great too. I won't lie, I'm down for that.
But I feel what you mean, like just starting from scratch with somebody, basically,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any inspiring words for a producer or recording engineer trying to just make it out here, maybe in LA or any major cities? What advice would you give them?
I guess I would say, kind of going along the lines of the point I just made, like finding people that, are around the same amount of experience as you and building together and finding good people, like people that you can hang out with, people that like you admire, people that like you can be like friends with, and not just like someone who's famous and sort of a D-bag, Yeah. Like I think that's the most rewarding like path to me, at least, in the work that I've done. Like of course like shoot for the stars and like, reach out to the big artists and stuff. And I would say just like whatever role you're in, like whether you're an intern or assistant engineer, like just work as hard as possible at being good at that role, because the people around you will notice and want to lift you up as well. And yeah, like also don't overlook your relationships with the people, like if you're an intern somewhere or an assistant engineer, the relationships that you have with your fellow interns and assistant engineers, those are the relationships that end up really being the most rewarding and also like paying off in the end, because that person will be in a position where they can't make it that day and they'll call you to do it. Yeah. And I've done the same for friends out here as well. Like, yeah, so those are a couple of points that come to mind and tie into stuff I said earlier, I guess. So it makes sense.
Good stuff, man.
I don't know.
Practical advice.
Is there anything else? Like,
that was perfect. That was great advice.
Cool.
Yeah.